So welcome. Tonight we have Reid Estreicher and we have Michael Barnard, co-collaborators, writer, director, actors in Thank You Five. And for those of you who haven't seen the film, I don't know how many of you have, but it's an improvised comedy about a bunch of struggling thespians who come together to stage a play called Prelude to a Tradition. And Kurt, who's got the ponytail, it looks like, plays director. Reid does, Kurt McAbbott. And then Michael plays George. So gentlemen, I'll let you take the floor. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your collaboration and how this project came to you?
Okay, where to start?
So Reid and I met taking classes at Second City in Chicago in 2011.
Yeah.
And we became friends pretty quickly, taking classes there. Within the first couple of weeks, we started meeting outside of class to hang out and collaborate on things. And over the course of a few years, we were writing together and performing together in Chicago. And we started working on a screenplay together that we kind of beat our heads against the wall for about 2 years trying to get it made. And we just kind of found that, you know, trying to make our first feature with the script that we had written was kind of a little bit outside of our grasp. So we kind of retooled and thought, well, what's something that we could conceivably do all on our own? And so we kind of went back to the drawing board and we started pitching around this idea of a movie that's set all in a theater about a bunch of actors. And, you know, we just kind of started throwing ideas around and developed this project.
It's something smaller that we could do ourselves. It's the original film, to Mike's point, was much bigger, and it just was too much. We bit off more than we could chew from a production perspective. So to do it ourselves, we just had to really go back to something smaller. And actually, we shot at Theater Wit. So everything was on location in Chicago, all Chicago cast, all Chicago crew. Shout out to everybody in the film. You did an amazing job. It was an amazing experience, but we shot everything at Theater Wit, and it was a really unique location because we had the theater that we could actually film in. But then there were the other parts of the theater that they allowed us to film in as well. So a huge thank you to David Wexler for letting us film in the other places when nobody was using it.
Yeah, they just
And
gave
are
us
you
the money
both ensemble members of Theater Wit?
Are we both what? I'm sorry.
Ensemble members of Theater Wit?
No, it was just a place that we came across. We were just scouting locations and we're like, let's just pop our heads into different theaters. And well, I think first we just like looked at pictures online. We're like, well, let's just go and see if they'll let us shoot here. So we just walked in off the street one day and we're like, hey, you know, we're working on this project. Do you rent out your theater for, you know, films? And they were like, yeah, sure. And so we worked it out with them and there you go.
But it worked out very well location-wise. I wanted to ask you, how much of the film actually was improvised? And I should say the aspects of the play within the film.
Oh, okay. So that was not improvised. That was the only part because the way we went about it was that we felt as though that couldn't be improvised because it needed to be consistent.
Right.
So yeah, the play Prelude to a Tradition, which is a hard title even to say, that play does exist. It was written, you know, we wrote it.
Actually, huge shout credit to Mike. He wrote. I was like overnight. What did you write?
No, it was a couple weeks.
Oh, sorry.
But like, yeah, I basically wrote like a play, or I don't know, like maybe within the span of like a month or something.
Every like dramatic trope you could put into a play.
Yeah, and the idea was that, you know, we wanted to have the actual play not be perfect because that would kind of fit, I guess, with the character of Kurt. So I just wrote one draft and was like, all the mistakes that are in it are going to be in it, because then when we're actually like improvising and rehearsing it live on camera, the actors are going to stumble across these mistakes that are still left in there.
I don't deal with things like this. I don't deal with a typo, and at the very least, you can apologize for giving this to me. I mean, I feel like this line now is forever emblazoned in my mind.
So outside of the actual written text itself of the play, I would say 90% of everything else you see in the movie was improvised by all.
Was improvised, not scripted. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I was going to say that was very impressive because with your background at Second City and understanding comedy by definition is a struggle. And there are so many facets of comedy, whether we're talking about parody or satire or self-deprecating humor, physical humor, one-liners. You know, you seem to get so many aspects of it into the script that I found that it was extremely impressive.
The cast was unbelievably talented, and they were all local Chicago comics. I think Emily Zawissa moved to Dallas, but everybody else is still local.
And which character did Emily play?
Emily played the part of Heather.
Heather, yes,
Yeah.
right. The Heather and Scott line was wonderful.
Super talented, and everybody played, I think, really well off each other. And it was a comment that Mike and I have talked about this a lot, where it's like sometimes you get people that are performing together, especially in the world of improv. They start to try to they not on purpose, but they ape each other's style. They start to kind of sound the same, and everybody
They mimic each other.
Yeah, and everybody really maintained like their own comedic voice or their own character voice throughout the production, which was pretty remarkable. The dialogue was that the actors spoke, minus the script that was written for the play, was all it's not improvised. So, yeah, so we actually crafted it. It was like we laid out kind of point to point as far as like start, you know, what's A, what's Z, and what is it supposed to be in between as far as the setup. But the actual dialogue all came from the actors themselves, the comedians themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I was actually going to comment on the casting. You know, you talk about the actors that everybody maintained their own pitch, so to speak. But the casting was really quite impressive. Everybody did have a unique voice. I did want to ask you specifically, Reid, about your character, because your character, I think, had the greatest arc. What was really special about this film for me was the last half hour. And Michael, I think you could speak to that too, playing George, who finally admits he's never going to be famous, you know, and you apologize for your inadequacies. Tell me about the writing about your character specifically, who played, not only did you write and direct it, but you acted it and directed in the play within the film. Could you follow that?
Yeah.
Very, very meta. The journey of Kurt is very, I think it's something that's relatable to people. Like you get some success, it goes to your head and you start to act errant and just rude.
Guys, can you take it back from the top? Just felt bland, you know? Did it feel bland to you? It felt bland?
So you want us, you know, just...
I don't know, just don't be so bland.
You can very easily point at the world around you for what's going wrong, but a lot of times if you just look inward, you realize that it might be coming from yourself. And I think that at least I hope that comes out towards the end of the film. I would say that for all the characters, we had a very specific, almost like a 5-point scene structure that we created for the character, where it's like, this character you should feel this way about at the beginning of the film, part of the way through, maybe there's a turn, and maybe you feel differently at the end of the film versus where you started. And with those choices were very deliberate. Like the character Scott, played by John T. O'Brien. John's an awesome guy, so freaking talented.
A wonderful actor.
So funny, great delivery in so many of his lines.
Have you noticed that your cadence on stage is getting real like
What?
No, like seriously, I just thought somebody should tell you.
Shut up.
Everything you're saying is like
You are so mean. That's not true.
I'm just trying to make...
Are you serious?
Yeah, completely. You don't want to sound like that in front of everybody.
Why are you being such a dick?
We had a very specific role for him to play, and that, like, the feeling that you have for him in the beginning, no spoiler, I don't want to...
You're supposed to hate him by the end.
Yeah, basically.
Am I being a dick or am I being helpful?
You know what? Great. No, you're being really nice.
And we had communicated this stuff to the actors, and the way that we wrote the characters was like a clustering exercise, where it was like we'd write the name, and then what are the character traits of these people? Where are they from? Did they have parents? Are their parents still married? Did they come from generational wealth? Did they come from nothing? Where did they go to school? Did they go to school? Like, where did they work? Like, really got into some very finite detail that never made its way into the film, but I think helped significantly inform the actors as to what they were supposed to portray when they were in front of the camera.
Well, I'm glad you shared that because it's a very competitive process to get a film into the Woods Hole Film Festival, and it was very clear that your characters had a very strong inner life. Not only did the characters have an inner life, but the actors understood where they came from and where they were going. And in particular, there was that very nice moment with a couple of the guys, I think it was Bobby, and they weren't sure about Jenna and her, where, you know, if she was homeless or where she lived or whatever. And it was just really, really special, touching.
I think that was, I mean, again, this was stuff that we wrote because, you know, again, all the dialogue was improvised, but we wrote so much about backstory and about the characters and about what we wanted out of every scene, like what the want was, like what needs to be accomplished in every scene. And so scenes like that was all stuff that like was in our heads, where as directors, we're like, we're going to shoot this scene and we're talking to the guys and we're like, you know what, like at this point, you guys don't really even know that much about her. You're all kind of infatuated with her, but you don't know her that well. And so that was kind of the inspiration for how that scene kind of went the way it went.
She's hot. She's something about her. Smoke show, right? Oh, she's hot. I know. So you guys, one of you guys, like, just
no, not yet.
We're trying.
Soon, very soon.
Okay. Which one is it gonna be?
Probably me. I see.
Someone needs to get in there. He drinks too much.
Yeah, but like, I get cute when I'm drunk. I'm like an adorable drunk.
From a drunk's perspective.
Yeah, well, maybe she likes to drink.
I could see her getting real wild behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah.
Because a girl like that, she's like all plain. She's got a wild side, you know? Like she left her family when she was a teenager. You think that's what happened?
And the dialogue was so real. You know, you felt like you were a fly on the wall. So,
Exactly.
And the delivery was just marvelous.
She is new to the city.
I guess. Did she even have an apartment yet?
Maybe she's crashing with a friend.
Homeless. Have you asked? No. But she probably would have brought it up. Like where she likes to hang out, where she drinks, where she...
Yeah, what neighborhood you're from. That's what people talk about. Stuff. The only reason to not bring it up is if you're homeless.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
It was just a really wonderful, wonderful film. Tell me how, you know, we're in the middle of this COVID pandemic, you know, and as filmmakers, do you want to talk a little bit about your film and how have you been able to get it out there in other festivals, and where do you see it going from here?
Yeah, we've had 10 official selections. One festival was pushed to 2021. The filmmaking community is very small as it is, especially the indie filmmaking community. And there's something very valuable about being able to be there in person. And so we're hoping to be able to at least get out and attend all these festivals that we've gotten into this past year in person next year. Granted, assuming that COVID is not a problem, you know, film is like, it's almost like the cultural microbiome for who we are. And so I feel like that needs to flourish again in a really big way. And that can happen once you're one-on-one with people and you're, you know, interacting and networking. So like I did, 10 official selections. We've had 6 nominations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We've had Best Actor nominations, Best Director nominations, Best Picture nominations, Best Comedy nominations, which is amazing and very humbling. We did pick up a Best Picture nomination in the first film fest that we went to, which was great. And then we also recently won the grand prize for Best Comedy at the Faden Awards.
Oh, well deserved. And I think something that really, I think resonated with the audiences is the last, I guess, 30 minutes really of the film where you're all at Duffy's restaurant, you know, and everybody's kind of gone their separate ways and there's a few of you there. And Michael, maybe you want to talk about this because specifically it was really your character that led that round table. You know, and for many of us who are actors, there was that one really relatable scene where Emily, who played Heather, said, I epically failed as an actor in New York. And, you know, why don't people say to you, if you're good at something, why don't you just follow your passion instead of why don't you just be an actor? And so I think there were real life lessons to be learned in this film.
I don't know why there's that thing where everyone tells you, like, you should be an actor. Or like, oh my God, you're so personable. You should do sales. It should be like, hey, you're a powerful person. Follow your passions or something like that. Because then it's in my head. I'm like, I need to do this because this is my calling. But it's because of other people's perception. I don't know.
Yeah, so if there's a thesis statement of the film, it's definitely in that chunk. I think when we were conceiving the film, we were I mean, there are a lot of movies about art and acting and theater. And when we were looking at the ones that currently exist, like sometimes there are ones that are kind of about like high school age or community theater. And the films are funny because they're all about like these delusions of grandeur. Or a lot of times they're kind of like showbiz movies about people who have already kind of made it and like what that's like. So we kind of looked at it, we're like, well, let's talk about characters that are kind of like where we are, where we're kind of like in the middle, people still trying to just break through. And so that last chunk is really kind of about that, about like, well, what is it like that keeps bringing us back? Like, what is it that makes people keep going and doing it even when you feel like you epically fail, even when you're in this show that goes off the rails and you look out in the audience, there's only 5 people there. And so it's like, what is it that gets people to keep coming back and doing it? And so, so I think that's the thing that I think resonates with people, especially people who are in the arts. And we've heard from people all over, not just people who are involved in theater, but people involved in music and, you know, in other facets where they're like, yeah, you know, it's my passion and I love doing it. But at this point, like, you know, I keep pursuing it, but I don't know where I'm going, but yet I just keep going and going and going.
We can either sit here and complain about how awful this show is and how terrible it is, or we can just not talk about it. But the point is, tomorrow night, we're still going to be back at that theater doing the exact same thing again tomorrow night for a whole other crowd.
I wanted to know how much of that last portion of the film was written. I mean, was that written prior to writing the entire text, the script, or did you come up with that later as kind of a, I don't know.
Well, it's really funny because
an ending to the ending.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's really funny because that last chunk where I'm just kind of like talking, it was written and it wasn't like, we knew we were going to do it and we knew there was going to be this big wrap up, but we didn't really pre-plan all what it was going to entail. We had like some bullet points, I think, of what we wanted to cover. At one point, interestingly enough, we were doing some rewrites and we're about to, you know, we're getting closer to production and we're looking at everything. And I'm telling Reid, like, we've got so many characters, a bunch of unknown actors. Why do we have so many people? I should not be in this. And I was like, we should cut this character out. I should like, and you know, we've got enough going on. And Reid was like, well, that's not going to work because there's a point we're trying to make with this film. And as the writer and the director, it's like, you should really be the person to try to like bring it home. So yeah, basically on the day it helped being the writer because then we're sitting around that table and I'm basically trying to say everything that I felt about why we were making the film, like what I kind of felt like people should take away from it. Obviously, when like, we would cut, I would just look at Reid and be like, did I say anything that made sense? But I mean, it was cobbled together from several takes of kind of an actual genuine conversation that Emily and I were having.
Yeah.
Right, and you know, a little bit of a shout out to your editor because the editing in this film was absolutely fabulous, as was the score. You did a lot with music too, but the editing was really superb, very clean. How long did it take to make this film?
5 years.
5 years.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, and then did you raise money for the project in the process? Did you get a reel together?
No, we did this all ourselves. That was, you know, the film that Mike mentioned at the top is a rom-com that we put together called Third Wheel, and it was just too big to do ourselves. And again, it's like, how do you get somebody to give you money to make a movie if you've never made a movie? It's like a very odd place to be in if you're like, hey, I can do this and we can do it well, but you don't have it established anywhere. It's like, why would I ever trust you with funding to do this? Like, you're insane. And so we went back and it was like, how do we do this ourselves? How can we prove that we can do this? And that was really the impetus behind the project. And it came out like, the end of the film is I'm not saying this because Mike says it's my favorite part of the film. I think
that's mine too.
It brings everything home. The last monologue that George makes, and again, it's like regardless of where you are in what industry, I think it really resonates to people that it's like, it's okay to not beat yourself up for not being further along in your career than you are. And there's something about appreciating the journey of hard work that I think can resonate with people if you take a step back and you just think about it. I couldn't have been more thrilled at the end of the film. I mean, just everything across the board, the way it left, and we've had some really, really sweet, some really great feedback about it.
Well, I think that both of you collaborate very well, so I hope there's another film down the pipe.
We do too.
Yeah. To Reid's point, it's just kind of like this was a passion project because we really wanted to make a film and we wanted to make a film together, but also it really is just something where it's like, this is what Thank You 5 is what we can do with literally nothing, because we just took it all out of our own pockets and just did everything and took it all on ourselves. And so, so hopefully that leads to things down the road where we can expand on, where we started and just build from there.
Right.
There's
certainly a lot of, actor-y films out there. We had one last year, a little bit similar to this, smaller ensemble, smaller cast with Jeff Daniels. But I think what really made this film so special is that how you brought it full circle at the end of the film. We didn't like the character of Scott, and we liked him even less at the end. He was the quintessential Cad, but we understood him at least.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's not easy to do. We didn't empathize him, but we just understood that's the way he was. And so you didn't devalue him by doing that. You just really wrote him. I mean, you didn't beef him up, you didn't embellish him in any way, but the characters were all very real, and that's not easy to do.
I think that was important too, because especially in films about like theater, in the theater world, sometimes it's like the focus is on the environment, where it's like the audition process or the whatever, like just the tropes that find their way into a lot of those films. And it's like, that's not, I think this goes back to like the Teachers of Second City and some of the other projects that we've been involved in, which is like, if you make it about the relationship of the characters, you get something very real and also very dynamic. And the comedy is born from the relationship of the characters, not from like trying to be funny. And I think that there's moments in there that got, like Kurt's rant when he gets mad and blows up at everybody.
Which is my favorite part, by the
way. There's a part where he yells at Warren, who's played like Theo Capel, who's amazingly talented guy.
Yes.
But he kind of loses his mind and just doesn't even know what to say. And it's like,
is that about the
So on the night of the dress rehearsal, they call it quits and all the actors are sitting in the auditorium and Kurt comes out center stage and basically says like, I'm out of here. So it's the night before the show opens. And he comes out and he berates all of them and says like, you don't take me seriously, I'm not gonna take you seriously,
Yes.
And the part that Reid's talking about is at one point, he's so angry and he directs his anger at the character of Warren, and he's so flabbergasted that he's deadly serious, but yet it becomes funny because the rage is just so impotent and he has nowhere to put it, and so it's like, it's a very tense scene, but you still get laughs from that tension.
And Warren, that's what it is. I don't even know what to say.
To your point, Reid, if you work inside out, which is the way you did, comedy and laughter is a byproduct of that. So, I mean, this could almost be a little bit of a screenwriting lecture class, because I think that's a testament to your strong writing and the homework that you did, to develop these wonderful characters. Well, I'm encouraging folks we have a lot of shy viewers tonight. We don't always get a lot of questions, but if anyone would like to ask Reid or Michael a question, please do so now. Otherwise, I'll bring it back to you guys. Is there anything in particular you wanted to say or share? Or how about the title? How did you come up with Thank You 5?
Oh, that's an industry term. Just for,
well, yeah, it was like a thing where we were like kicking around, just like, well, what are some theater terms that, that could be the title? And I think we threw around a ton. And I don't know, I don't remember how we came up with it. I know we were just like sitting in a Starbucks.
It's like writing out titles.
And we're just writing them out. And then we kind of were like, Thank You 5. And then we got stuck on that. And it's like, was it Thank You, FIVE, thank you numeral 5, thank you comma 5. Yeah, we kind of went through all these numerations, then we just settled on thank you 5 as it is.
Yeah, thank you 5, and it's said in the film 5 minutes before Curtin, the stage director or the stage manager, will come back and say 5 minutes to Curtin, and the cast is to respond thank you 5 to, so the curtain doesn't go up and there's no one on stage, which has happened, which is why that's a thing in the theater world.
Call and response.
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably, a couple of things. I would want to say thank you, a huge thank you, one to Woods Hole for having us. This has been an absolute amazing journey, to say the least. But I also would like to say a big thank you to the cast and the crew. It was very small. We worked crazy hours. It was a SAG ultra low budget film, but we had to work the hours in this because we shot on location. We had to work when we could work. And we had crazy things happen. The Stanley Cup, the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup, and we completely shut down our filming because it was so nuts outside that the audio was bleeding.
Right.
Yeah, the audio.
You were over on Belmont, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so they had this big parade go down Belmont, and just also like the crazy shooting schedule that we had from Sunday into Monday into Tuesday, and just we had.
I was going to ask you the set that Logan built, the actor Logan built. Was that a set then that they were using at Theater Wit, or did you build that for your film?
Yes, so that was something. I mean, shout out to the Griffin Theater Company for letting us basically co-opt the thing, because what happened was like when we went to David Wexler at Theater Wit and we're like, hey, can we shoot in your space? He's like, yeah, cool, fine. Just want to let you know though that there's going to be a show that's going to be in there from this date to this date, and we're like, that's great, because like we'll just work with it, and not even really knowing what the show was even going to be. So ultimately, it worked out great. So we were able to shoot in an empty stage for a short period of time, and then we had to break from filming for I think 2 weeks. And when we came back to resume filming, the set was there.
Which also too, so when Mike wrote Prelude to a Tradition, say that 5 times fast, good Lord.
All right.
Yeah, when he wrote that, it was originally done in a diner.
Okay,
and the reason,
as you said.
Yeah, the reason that it was done in a diner was because when we talked to Wexler, he's like, yeah, they're going to build a set and it's going to be a diner. And we're like, oh, great. So we can
that was my fault, actually, is because he was like, there's going to be a play in there. And I looked on their website to what play it was. And I thought it was going to be, I can't remember what the name of it was. It was a Lanford Wilson play. But I looked it up and I'm like, oh, this takes place in a diner. And so, but then it turns out that was not the play that was going in that theater.
Right. So when the thing.
Maybe Callie's Folly. I don't know.
Yeah, so we went back in and we did tour the set before we started shooting. So we were kind of given a heads up in advance. Like we went in and we're like, oh, this is not what we thought it was going to be. So then we kind of just thought like, well, we'll roll with it.
This is amazing. I mean, oh my God.
Thank you.
I mean, it's amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, it's supposed to be a cafe, but this is amazing.
Well, any thoughts of converting this into any kind of stage play? And that's a question that comes from Jay. Our producer here.
We've had a lot of crazy conversations. I always thought it'd be really funny to try to actually put up Prelude to a Tradition on its own, like to actually do the play within the film as a play and see how people reacted to it, to see if they thought it was terrible or whatever. And just, I don't know, try to do it for real. I think that would be kind of amusing, but no, there has not been any conversation about adapting the movie.
Right. We have a question here from an anonymous attendee. They wanted to get a little more information about the musical score and how you went about funding that and finding the music for your film.
So there are only a couple pieces in the film that we didn't write. And those were things that we licensed for the film. Then the other things that were like, so the opening night chaos after Kurt has his blow up and leaves, that's like an 11-minute piece of music. We scored that for the film, which is, I put a piano over there and a bunch of stuff. Actually, huge shout out to Spitfire Audio, because they make unbelievable synth products that they sample so much music, and it's by like the top like musicians in the world. It's incredible. And so we're able to have like basically like a full orchestral movement at your fingertips with that software. And it was Logic Pro and then just the plugins from Spitfire Audio. So we were able to create some pretty amazing things.
So it sounds like you did a lot of that on your own. You didn't have somebody to do that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's the composer is listed under a pseudonym in the credits, but it was actually mostly Reid because he
Are you a
has some
musician, Reid?
ability.
Not a good one, but if you give me enough time in an electric program that I can like tweak things after I screw them up miserably while I play them live, then I can fake it.
Well, there you go. That's just another hat to add to your already talented gifts.
Thanks.
Let's see. Anything else you want to talk about before we sort of wrap up? You're still talking to each other.
Yes, yeah, we made it through. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's interesting. Like I said, we've known each other for a long time now, almost 10 years, and yeah, this whole thing started because we started writing one screenplay together, and we're like, well, let's make this, and then we kind of just over time we're like, all right, well, whatever it is we do in the film industry, like we're just gonna do it together, and we're gonna just kind of keep collaborating and working. And I mean, we fell into a pretty good groove because, like, honestly, before the chat started, you asked us, like, did one person lean more towards writing or more towards directing? Was one person taking the lead? And it's funny because, like, we did a few cast meetings and rehearsals before we started shooting, and that was a question from one of the actors, which is like, so who's really directing? And it was like, I mean, honestly, it is really both, because we're on the same page about a lot of things as far as like our taste, and again, since we spent so much time doing that backstory, writing, developing, I mean, we both knew the story so well that it was like you could ask either of us any question, and I don't think our answers would be too different.
But it is difficult to direct yourself. You know, some actors have done it, but not too many.
Well, that's what made it handy, is that we could.
Yeah.
There's a reason why George and Kurt aren't really on camera together for any extended period of time.
Yeah.
I did notice that when I asked you. Right. So you were able to rely on each other, it sounds like.
Yeah. Because we were spinning so many plates that sometimes it was really funny, because when it was time for Reid to stop directing and start acting, it really was kind of like,
what am I doing?
Yeah, it was like I needed to be there to kind of be like, okay, here's where we are, here's what you're doing. It's like, because it's like, oh yeah, because so many things are happening that once you start to just be an actor, you do need to be brought up to speed the same as anybody else to be like, okay, like, what am I doing here? Okay, got it, and then jumping into it.
Shut one part of your brain off to like turn another part of it on. It was life-saving to have Mike as a counterpart in that, because Mike, I don't know how many times I was like, I don't know what we're doing. What's the scene? Where is this in the production right now? Like, walk me back to that.
It's like, you wrote it. How do you not know? It's like, I'm tired. Yeah, right.
I'm tired.
Well, we hope that you two will be a duo for a long time to come. As a mass appeal, you don't have to be an actor, writer, or director to enjoy Thank You 5. So
thank you very much. I
just want to thank you both so much. Congratulations for being part of the festival, and I hope to see it up on the big screen very soon. And this was just really a treat to have you both here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Michael, Barnard, thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Petey? What's up,
Bobby, my man.
Oh
my God, how's life been, man?
Awesome. I got cast in a play.
That's great. Congrats, man. Which one?
Prelude to a Tradition.
Shut up. I'm playing Walter.
I'm so excited to start this.
Yeah, this will be fun.
New project, right?
We have a lot to cover, guys. We have a lot to cover and very little time to do it. So we really have to stay focused, which I know is not going to be a problem. We're all professionals. Am I right? Am I right? Hi, excuse me, director. Can we take it back closer to the beginning?
Am I stupid?
I don't know, are you?
No, from the line, am I stupid, Walter, from that line?
Oh.
I need a real break, I can't do anything like this again.
Please make yourself comfortable.
Sorry, can you go back and read the line the way it's written?
Me?
Yes.
I must excuse myself as well for a moment. Please continue to make yourself comfortable.
Make yourself comfortable.
I feel like it's probably a typo.
Yeah, no, it most definitely, without question, is a stupid way to say something.
I was just trying to get it so that I'm saying the lines I don't need, so that when we actually do it, I'll know all the lines.
If this thing continues this way, I'm not gonna even go on opening night. I'm very nervous about this.
I think it's just like that old saying, a bad rehearsal for a great show.
Is that a thing? I feel like that's when people say, like, oh no, it's good luck when it rains on your wedding. Because it's just like the bride's crying. And they just want to make her feel better. Okay, I'm like the crying bride right now. I feel like you're just trying to make me feel better.
Is it working?
No.